Good morning, class. I am Specialist Luis Alberto Chamorro Martinez. I will be your instructor today. Today we will be covering how to identify terrain features on a map. The task conditions and standards for today are as follows. Task: identifying terrain features on a map as prescribed by 071-COM-1001 of the Soldier's Handbook for Common Task. Conditions: you are a member of a team or squad in a field environment tasked with finding terrain features on a map using a scale map of 1/50,000. And the standard is finding terrain features on a map. The classification of this class is unclassified in its entirety. The risk assessment is low. Watch out for things that may trip you, such as chairs, cords, wires, even water bottles. Make sure you don't get any paper cuts. To mitigate these risks, just watch out for everything around you. You have to go to the bathroom. Please go the fastest route and come back as quickly as you can so you don't miss anything from the class. We will now begin with the training. In your hands, you have a handout that will help you identify the 10 major terrain features. The 5 major terrain features are hill, valley, saddle, and ridge. The 3 minor are cliff, spur, and draw, and the 2 supplemental are cut and fill. In the handout, the picture above has each of these terrain features labeled out for you so you can kind of see what it is. Alright, so we'll begin with hill. Hill, a point or small area of higher ground where you are on the hilltop, the ground slopes in all directions. The top of the hill is identified by the smallest circle or contour line, followed by bigger circles. The bigger the circle, the lower to the ground it is. Next is valley. It is reasonably level ground, bordered on the side by higher ground. So this is level ground, and then this is the higher ground. It may contain a stream, and it generally has room for you to maneuver. The course of the contour lines always points upstream. Next, we'll be covering the ridge. A ridge is a line of high ground of high variations along its crest. So if you look at the ridge in the handout, the first hill is higher than the rest, and that is determined by the slope. The first hill is the medium height of the rest, and that's determined by the slope of the hill. Second is the highest, and the third is the lowest. Next is depression. Depression is a low point or hole in the ground, surrounded on all sides by higher ground. It is shown on the map by a contour line, circular in shape, usually with smaller contour lines cutting through it. A depression is also described as a body of water, a body where water might have been or could have been in the past. So if you look down, it's just a hole in the ground, basically. Next, we'll cover is saddle. A saddle is a dip or low point in the ground along the crest of a ridge. A saddle is not necessarily low ground between the 2 hilltops and may break along a lower ridge line. So if you look at the saddle, here you have the 2 hills, and in between there is lower ground. It's also shown in the illustration above, where you have the 2 hills, and then the saddle in between. It is called saddle because it looks like a saddle. It's also described as an hourglass figure when you look at the map. Next, we will go over the minor terrain features. The first is a draw. It is similar to the valley, except that it does not have as much maneuverable room. It has a less developed stream course, and the ground slopes upward on each side and to the head of the draw. Next we'll cover is a spur. A spur is usually short and continuous sloping line. So short and continuous sloping line, you see it in the illustration of the top of the hill, and each hill gets longer and longer, showing that it's sloping downward. It is often formed by 2 parallel streams cutting draws down the side of the ridge. The illustration above shows will be considered a spur. And the next is a cliff. A cliff is a vertical or near vertical slope. It is often shown on a map by close contour lines or contour lines that intercept. The tick always points towards the ground. Next, we will cover cut and fill, the supplementary features. A cut is a man-made feature usually made on high or level ground for trains. And a fill is a man-made feature resulting from filling a low area, usually to form a level bed for a road or railroad tracks. These terrain features on a map are identified by 3 parallel contour lines for a cut with ticks going through the contour lines. Next, what I will do is demonstrate how to find the terrain features on a map. The map that we are using is of the Coronado National Forest. Because it's a national forest and we're kind of near the desert, half of it is forest and the other half is a mountainous area, so not every terrain feature will be on it. But this is our current area, so this is what we'll go over, because if you train, this is what we will be training at. So the first thing I have identified is a hill. Once again, the top of the hill is the smallest contour line, surrounded by bigger contour lines that show that the bigger lines are downward. Next, I have identified a draw. I have identified a ridge, which is right here. It is two hills and then a spur as well. If you keep looking down south, you will identify a saddle and a cliff. There are many different ways to identify these on this map. There's a few different examples, so please pay attention and you'll find different ones. Alright, for the next portion of the class, I will give you time to look over your notes that you have taken, the handout, and the map provided to try to study up on these things. The time allotted to study is up. We will do an assessment. The assessment that you will take will contain finding 4 of the terrain features. Find at least 2 major and 2 minor. There may be a supplemental. If you can find one, add it and replace it with either or, but I did not find one when going through this map. Okay, so you may begin the test. The test is over. Everybody here is trained and you have all passed the test. Congratulations. Before we end the class, I would like to go over a few things. As shown on your handout, you can use your hands to identify these terrain features if you forget. So if you cusp your hand like so, the inside of your hand will show the shape of a valley, as you will see it on the map, and the palm of your hand will show a depression. If you make a fist, you can identify that your knuckles look like a hill, and the combination of 2 knuckles looks like a saddle, and the combination of all your knuckles looks like a ridge. Spurs can be seen by the downward slope of the top of the front of your fist, and the draws are seen by running down slopes on the side. You can also see a cliff on the side of your hand by the lines going downward. Next thing we will do is an AAR. Give me something, what was supposed to happen, what did happen, what can we do better next time? Thank you. Further along, we will pass down the training aids so that everything is accounted for and everything that needs to be turned into supply can be turned into supply. Alright, following this class, we will conduct a risk assessment. From what was seen, the risk assessment was still low, and nobody got hurt, and everybody stayed safe. So good job. We'll do one last inspection of the training aid, or of the maps. You guys can keep the training aids, and then we will let you go, pending any questions. All the training aids are here. Are there any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, you may all gather your stuff and leave. Make sure you don't leave anything behind, because I will be closing site. Thank you for paying attention today, and thank you for being such a good class. All the way.